We are going to the Iowa Hawkeyes next, and you get hot and bothered about Washington. Whew, I am fanning myself looking at what this offense could do. Could an Iowa offense be fun, guys? I mean, Tim Lester got that
Mitch, you got any
offense.
home cooking going on that one? What's happening, man?
Last year, listen, I predicted that Iowa State, I was talking with my wife about this morning. I predicted that Iowa State was going to beat Iowa, fully knowing that I was speaking that into a family full of Hawkeye fans, right? And I said that confidently, and guess what happened? Iowa State won that game. Did Iowa fumble it away? Yeah, sure. But I ended up being right. This year, I told her I feel the exact opposite. I am so high on the Hawks this year because Tim Lester, without a real steady option at quarterback last year, got that offense up to 72nd overall. Did he have Caleb Johnson running the rock? Absolutely he did. But to quote Moneyball, he's not a guy we're going to replace one-to-one, but I think we can replace him in the aggregate. And then you throw on top Mark Gronowski, all-world everything from the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, FCS legend that comes in to play quarterback. And Trey, I mean, I'm having a hard time not saying that, yeah, we're talking 10-2 Iowa Hawkeyes going to the playoff. Let's go party in Iowa City.
I'll say it. I was going to win 10 games this year. Like I'm going on the record right
Sick.
now and saying that I was going to win 10 games. When
You
is the
get
last
a 10
time?
win season. You get a 10-win season.
Listen, with Washington, it was they might be able to
Yeah,
if they
it was
can,
8.
That's fair.
if it was 8 or 9 if
Yeah.
they get one of those 3. Iowa will win 10 games. I'm going to go on the record and say that right now. We haven't seen an Iowa quarterback as good, not just fun, as good as Mark Gronowski since when? Ever? In the Kirk Ferentz era? Like probably going back to before all of us were paying attention to college football because he's been there forever. I'm sure he's had
best pure
passer.
passer in Iowa City, at least since Ricky Stanzi in the early 2010s, right?
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I think that's where you can start having that conversation. So think about all the good teams. The defense slipped a little bit last year, and there were the jokes running around. Well, Iowa has a top 80 offense, so the defense is going to take some slips. But in all honesty, they were rebuilding a lot on that side of the ball, and they got a lot of guys with experience this year. So I'm thinking the defense is going to take a step up. I think that they're another team that has most of their difficult games at home. 3 of their 4 toughest games, Indiana, Penn State, and Oregon, all at home. They do go to USC and to Iowa State, but they tend to win that game in Ames. They both those teams have won in each other's stadium in the Cy-Hawk game the last few years. So I look at this schedule and I look at this team, and I think we've always joked, what would Iowa look like if they had an offense? And they're going to have a passing game. Now, Caleb Johnson, we shouldn't just dismiss and say we can replace him in the aggregate, because I think that dude is going to be one of the steals of fantasy football drafts in the NFL this year because of how good that he is just as a purely talented running back. But I do like the pieces they have. Kamari Moulton in particular looks to be the real deal. I hope he can hold up to the workload that he's going to get, but if that's the main question you have about an Iowa offense, can the running back hold up to the workload? Well, I don't know what reality we're living in. So I'm just going to ride that to a 10-2 season and say that Iowa's going to find a way. Their defense is going to travel. They're going to pick off some teams in an awesome environment at home, and we're going to party in Iowa City all the way to the playoff.
Their start to the season is Albany at Iowa State, which I've told you they're going to win. UMass at Rutgers, Indiana. Even if they drop a game to Indiana, which right now I would pick Iowa to win that game. So worst case there, I think they're 4-1, but more than likely I'm going to pick them to be 5-0 at Wisconsin off a bye week. Then they host Penn State, Minnesota bye week, and host Oregon. As long as they win one of those games, right, they're going to be expected to lose to Penn State and probably to Oregon. But if this defense, which has 9 of 11 projected starters, are seniors, they've got a ton of talent in that secondary and on that defensive side in general. If this Iowa team plays like we expect them to on the defensive side, and if that offense continues to progress, if they continue to be more balanced, if Gronowski is able to find guys like Riley Vander Zee, down the field, to give the defense something more to think about than putting 8 guys in the box, why not Iowa? Why not the Hawks?
Look, I was kind of teasing with y'all about just throwing out all the positive all the way. But look, at a certain point, I'm not going to throw cold water on the Iowa bandwagon. Like, this is a good team. I think that this team really does have 10 wins in them. Like, I think you're pretty right. And for me, this whole season hinges on how good Indiana really is, because Indiana, for me, is the biggest question mark right now in the Big Ten of like, okay, was that a fluke or are you guys for real? Like, is this a really good program now? Is Signetti like, college football Jesus, or is this just like a one-off and, Curtis Worker's good. Okay, that was fun. See you later. For me, that's kind of where this hinges, right? Is if Indiana's really good, I'll put them at 9-3. If they're not, like, yeah, you're kind of right. There's not a whole lot of games that scare me. I think Penn State probably wins that game, and I think Oregon probably wins. But outside of those two, Iowa's got a really good chance to be the realistic favorite in all the games that they're playing. They should keep playing good defense. The running game really is the one place where I want to see it. And if I'm going to go any sort of pessimism, it's just going to be on the run game. But like Trey was saying, like, I'm not going to doubt the Iowa run game. That seems like pretty foolish talk. And, I think the quarterback can kind of help you out in that regard as well. So I think there's a lot of things you can do to find your way to, as you were saying, Mitch, recreate Caleb Johnson in the aggregate. I don't know if it's a possible thing that you can do, but there's a lot of things they can do to try. But yeah, the quarterback play is going to be a lot better. And with any improvement in the quarterback play, this should be a really fun team to watch.
This might be a weird thing to say. I think I'm most worried about, can they play complementary football? Because it's not something that they've ever really done from an offensive standpoint. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
Like, are they going to freak themselves out when they're like, wait a minute, we haven't run the ball in a little while because the pass game's working. Hold on.
Yeah, and I mean, I mean that kind of jokingly, but also kind of not. The jokes were there last year, like I said, but
Right.
It is going to be a different mindset that Ferentz and his staff find themselves in than they have in recent years. So it will be interesting to see if the offense is humming, how do they adjust and how do they balance that out and keep playing good, disciplined defensive football like they're used to.
Yeah, Mitch, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here. I guess the big question would just be, what's the punter look like this year? I don't know how the punt university is doing over there, but I know they're pretty fun to their.
They're not going to need him this year. He's just going to be on the sidelines because they're going to score all the points.
He's just going to be, he's going to be a celebrity, just doing cameos over on the sideline. They might not need him all that much. No, guys, I'm looking through our preview document. In the 27 pages that I wrote for our Big Ten preview this year, I think Iowa is absolutely a contender for the conference. Trey, you and I are as high on them as I think anybody will be in the country. My bold prediction for Iowa, you said 10 wins. My bold prediction was at least 9 games, and they upset Oregon at home this year. I have some questions about Oregon. We'll get into that in the next episode. Spoiler, they're in the next episode. But if I was going to put a bold prediction out there for Iowa, 9-10 wins feels very realistic, and I think they pick off the Ducks at Kinnick this year. So we'll see. Hopefully it's not the kiss of death for the Hawks, for my extended family and all the Iowa fans out there. We will be eagerly awaiting the results for Iowa this year and that new look offense.